Barakallahu feekum. I ask Allah to make this easy for me and for you. Correct your intentions. Let's continue in the Aqidah of Imam Sanusi. I think you like this one. It's a really nice one, mashallah. It is sufficiently detailed. It's not overly detailed. It's comfortable. It's a comfortable level, and it's clear. It's not too wordy, mashallah, and it's prestigious. Let's start from this heading here. My computer's a little slow today, so hopefully it won't crash on me. Let's start from this heading here, Exaltation from Imperfection. We started reading in there, but we didn't finish that. So let's start from the top of this section. The author, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, وَمِمَّا يَسْتَحِيلُ فِي حَقِّهِ تَعَالَى 20 صِفَةً. And among what is impossible concerning him, exalted is he, are 20 attributes. وَهِيَ أَضْدَادُ الْعِشْرِينَ الْأُولَى. They are contrary to the first 20. And therefore, we are still talking about the attributes of the self, not the attributes of doings. Hold on. Because the attributes of the self are the attributes that their opposites are impossible to attribute to Allah. Whereas the attributes of doings, it is not impossible to attribute a doing to Allah and to attribute the contrary meaning of that doing to Allah, such as life creation and death creation. It is impossible to attribute to Allah existence and non-existence, but it is not possible. It is not impossible to attribute to Allah life creation and death creation, and expanding the sustenance and restricting or constricting the sustenance. So we are now in the discussion about the attributes of the self. These 20 non-befitting attributes that cannot be attributed to him are al-adamu wal-huduth, non-existence or inexistence. Al-adam, nothingness. Wal-huduth, createdness. Yani, that's clear. Being created. I think there's a typo here, but I need to review the metin. Uru al-adam. What does that expose for you? Exposes for you that I don't have this metin memorized, or else I'll know what's going there. So this is where we'll check it here. And vanishing, meaning for non-existence to happen to him, for non-existence to come to be his attribute. وَالْمُمَاثَلَةُ لِلْحَوَادِثِ, and comparability to created things. Now, up till here, he didn't elaborate on each one. Non-existence, he just named this non-befitting attribute and went on. Createdness, he didn't elaborate. He went on. Vanishing, he didn't elaborate. He went on. And comparability to the created things, here he paused to elaborate. بأن يكون جرما, by being something of volume. That's how he would be comparable to created things. أي تأخذ ذاته العلية قدرا من الفراغ, i.e. for his high self to take up an amount of space. But even though now I don't have this memorized, but I remember something, at the least. Now I'm making excuse for myself. I remember something, so therefore I didn't just read what's there. It's not the red line here that's making me pause. That because I remember something here, so I need to check it. أي تأخذ ذاته العلية قدرا من الفراغ, i.e., for his high self to take up an amount of space. أي تأخذ ذاته العلية قدرا من الفراغ, meaning for his high self to take up an amount of space. Yani his majestic self. For his majestic self to take up an amount of space. That's what it would mean to be something of volume, filling a space. And therefore, had he been something of volume, he would be comparable to created things. Faragh, space. Space means emptiness. Or faragh means what is filled by the volume, that which the volume fills. You have volume, you have certain size. So this size of yours is always taking up some space, isn't it? Because you are somewhere. So there is an amount of space that you take up. That's what's meant here. Not necessarily, this, when we say here, the faragh, taking up some space, this doesn't mean necessarily there's an empty space next to you. If you leave the space you are and fill the space next to you, then you're filling that one. That's not exactly what I'm saying here. What I'm saying to you is, yourself, you are made of atoms, and therefore you are taking up space. Whether you go to that space or this space, move over, move forward, backwards, left, right, you're always filling a space. You will never not fill a space. So you are filling your own space as something of volume. If that's not clear for you, go ahead and ask me a question if you want to. أو يكون عرضا يقوم بالجرم, or to be a property existing by extension of some volume. Yani, so for his high self to take up an amount of space, that's what it means to be volume, or to be a property existing by extension of some volume. يقوم بالجرم, existing by extension of. يقوم بالجرم, existing by extension of something with volume. So I think this talk is clear for you from the lessons that we have learned for years now. There's two types of creations. One that exists independently, meaning it's not existing by extension of something else. It's filling its own space. And another type of creation, it does not fill its own space, and rather it exists by extension of what does fill space. So, that's like motion. Motion does not have volume. Yani, when you move, that does not increase or decrease your volume, the amount of space you take up. So your volume stays as it is when you move. But the movement is existing by extension of your volume. And the stillness also exists by extension of the volume that is you. So أو يكون عرضا يقوم بالجرم, or to be arad, a property, yani a fleeting quality, a fleeting quality. If you say fleeting here, it means it could be fleeting or it could be susceptible to fleeting. Or yani fleeting means going away, really. Fleeting means going away. Properties that come and go. You move, then you're still. Then you move, then you're still. Like that. You are strong, then you're weak. Then you're strong, then you're weak. You know, then you don't know. Then you know, then you don't know. Like this. But some of those properties, they are static. So, like, could be that you have a color, then you have a different color. Then you have a color, then you have a different color. Like an octopus or a chameleon. But most of the things are not like that. So that color that you have is stable, but it is susceptible to vanishing. So that's what's meant by property here. The temporal or the fleeting qualities that exist by extension of some volume. Had Allah been a property existing by extension of some volume, then he would be comparable to the created things, or some of them. أو له هو جهة, or for him to be in a direction. What's a direction? A direction, it could be said that a direction is a place. Yani it's possible to define jiha as a synonym to makan, a place, or jiha could refer to some place in comparison to another place, a place with regard to a comparison. So over, under, beside, before, behind. The Wahhabis, they say Allah is over the creations. And then they say we don't compare him to anything. Those are smooth brains. So let me back up here. Oh, yakuna aradan yakumu bil jirm, or for him to be a quality that exists by extension of some volume. Oh, yakuna fi jihatin bil jirm, or for him to be in a direction from something with volume. It says here from some substance, from something that has substance. Here's the word substance. Here's the word volume. There's one Arabic word, jirm. I'll stay consistent here. Or for him to have a direction from something that has volume, yes, then definitely he would be comparable to the creations. What did the Wahhabis say? They said Allah is over the throne, the arsh, the ceiling of paradise, or the canopy of paradise. The canopy of paradise is something with volume. According to them, he is in a direction from that. So that's a comparison to the creations. And then they say, we don't compare Allah to the creations. أو يتقيد بمكان أو له هو جهة, or for him to have his own direction. Okay, that's better. أو يتقيد بمكان, or for him to be bound by a place. Correct. يتقيد, to be restricted to, bound to, that's a fine word. Bound to place. Bound by place. Okay. Oh, zaman, or time. So he's not bound by place or time. What did the Wahhabis say? They said he comes down to the lowest sky during the last third of the night. So we say to them, do you not realize that you are believing that God is bound to time? Because you said, at this time he does such and such. Comes down according to you. You are according to you, he's bound by time and place. Because you say, he is over the throne, and when the last third of the night comes in, he descends down to the lowest sky. So this is temporal and spatial. According to them, Allah is temporal and spatial. أو تتصف ذاته العلية بالحوادث, or for something to happen to his high self, yani his exalted self. Hawadith means events, occurrences, happenings. So for something to happen to him, then if something could happen to God, then he would be comparable to the creations. So if yani, we say then nothing happens to God. And that coincides with our saying God does not change. Because he's not a created being. Created beings are the ones that change. Like they start off as a sperm drop, then they develop in their mother. So they turn into babies inside the womb. Then they flip upside down. Then they come out head first. And from there they keep developing. Then they turn into toddlers. Then they turn into thinking children. Then they turn into young adults. Then they turn into yani, not young adults. Then they turn into older people. Not old yet though. Then they turn to old people. Then they die. So this is created. Something happens to when something happens to something. When something happens to something, then this thing that something happens to, it's created. And the seasons change. The leaves change colors and they fall, then they grow back again, etc. And the day turns to night, the night turns to day. That's all things happening. So if something happened to God, then he would be comparable to the creations. أو يتصف بالصغر أو الكبر, or to be attributed with smallness or bigness. Yani to have a size, big or small. This would mean he has a body. If he has a body, it means he is made of volume, or he is volume, something of volume. Then means he's filling a space. Then he is comparable to the creations. So he is not attributed with smallness or bigness. Allah is not small and he's not big. He's not close and he's not far. And he's not inside and he's not outside. And he's not moving and he's not still. All of that is created. Whatever you can imagine in your mind, Allah is different. أو يتصف بالأغراض في الأفعال أو الأحكام, or to be attributed with motivations in what he does or in his rulings. That's a nice statement that's not in a lot of Aqidah books, that Allah is clearer of motivation. The creatures are motivated, driven by desires, driven by necessities, wanting to eat, wanting to copulate, wanting other things, wanting safety, wanting warmth, etc. Allah is not attributed with motivation or being motivated to do something. Rather, he is attributed with wisdom, not motivation, but wisdom. By his wisdom, he does whatever he wills. In his wisdom, he does whatever he wills. Everything that happens is a proof of his wisdom. And you might know the wisdom behind something or you might not know. And if you don't know the wisdom behind something, doesn't mean that it's not wise. Just means you don't know. By that, he finished his elaboration about clearing Allah from comparability to created things. What's the section we are under? Exaltation from imperfection. So he is exalted from non-existence, from createdness, from vanishing, and from comparability to created things. But this last one, comparability to created things, he stopped to elaborate. And then he went on. وَكَذَا يَسْتَحِيلُ عَلَيْهِ تَعَالَى أَلَّا يَكُونَ قَائِمًا بِنَفْسِهِ. And likewise, it is impossible concerning him, exalted is he, that he would not be self-existent. قَائِمًا بِنَفْسِهِ. قَائِم means existing. قَائِم means attributed with qiyam. Qiyam means wujud. And thubut, confirmation, existence. So the one who has qiyam is described as qa'im, existing, binafsihi, by himself. Here, self-existence, which is independence. Here also he elaborated, بأن يكون صفة يقوم بمحل, by being an attribute existing by extension of some vessel. Yes, yani, if he were an attribute existing by extension of a vessel, then he would not have self-existence. What's an example of an attribute that exists by extension of some vessel? These words, they are clear for you, inshallah, but that's because we have studied. So we got used to the talk here. But for someone else, it's going to sound so scientific, which it is, though. What is the meaning of being an attribute existing by extension of a vessel? Means, so the vessel means what has volume. The meaning of, so the Arabic word here is mahal, that's being translated as vessel. Now, a mahal, in a literal sense, is a place. A mahal is a makan, in a literal sense. Yani, mahal is the location of hulul. Hulul means dwelling. So a mahal is the dwelling location. So that means a place. That's in a literal sense. Here, mahal means a vessel. Vessel meaning something that contains something else. Something that contains something else. According to what I'm saying to you, I am a vessel and you are a vessel. Yani, I am a mahal and you are a mahal. This mahal, that's me and you and different things, has attributes that exist by extension of it, which we already talked about today, such as motion. Your motion is an attribute that exists by extension of yourself. Meaning, yourself is some amount of volume. You are something made of atoms filling a space. So you are some volume, and if you move from one place to another place, this does not increase or decrease your volume. So then, what is this moving from one place to another place? It is something that is existing by extension of the fact that you are a volume. So the motion, in the example that I'm giving you, is not self-existent because it exists by extension. So you are a vessel that, okay, so you are a vessel. Does that mean you are self-existent? Yes, in a way. Not in the way that means that God didn't create you. You're not self-existent with the meaning that no one created you. No. God is self-existent with the meaning that no one created him. You as a vessel and me, you are self-existent with the meaning that you're not existing by extension of something else. However, you are volume, and he just covered in the previous statement that if he were volume filling a space, then he would be comparable to the creations. So he's telling us here, if God were volume filling a space, he would be comparable to creations. And if he were an attribute that exists by extension of volume, then he would lack self-existence. So he said, وَكَذَا يَسْتَحِيلُ عَلَيْهِ تَعَالَى أَلَّا يَكُونَ قَائِمًا بِنَفْسِهِ. And likewise, it is impossible concerning him, exalted is he, that he would not be self-existent. بأن يكون صفة يقوم بمحل, by being an attribute existing by extension of some vessel. أو يحتاج إلى مخصص, or needing a specifier. If he needed a specifier, then he would not be self-existent. Then, according to this definition, we are not self-existent. That's already what I told you anyway, though. I just said a moment ago. We are not self-existent with the meaning that no one created us. No, someone created us. I said, you are self-existent with the meaning of not being an extension, not existing by extension of something else. Meaning, you fill your own space, I fill my own space. That's as much as our self-existence goes. But for the fact that we need a specifier, then we are not self-existent in this meaning. Specifier means the one who made you one way or another way. Are you a male? Why aren't you a female? Are you a female? Why aren't you a male? Are you black? Are you white? Or what? Are you tall? You short? Or wide? Slim? Etc. You need a specifier. Then you are not self-existent. He says, وَكَذَا يَسْتَحِيلُ عَلَيْهِ تَعَالَى أَلَّا يَكُونَ وَاحِدًا. And also it is impossible for him, exalted is he, not to be unique. And here he wants to elaborate also. So you see, in some spots he elaborated, in some spots he did not elaborate. Let's take a quick look here. If we back up a little bit, here he says, so among what is necessary for our Lord, great and invincible, is 20 attributes. And they are existence, eternality, everlastingness, his being different from events, exalted is he. So here, these, existence, he didn't elaborate. Eternality, he didn't elaborate. Everlastingness, his being different from the events. In all these, he didn't elaborate. Then he said his independence. Then he elaborated by saying meaning, his not requiring a location or specifier. And oneness. Then he elaborated, meaning his not having a counterpart in his self, nor in his attributes, nor in his doings. Now here he's doing something like that. Non-existence, createdness, vanishing without elaborating. Comparability to created things, then he elaborated. being dependent, not self-existent, and he elaborated, and not being unique, and he elaborated. So it is impossible for him to not be unique. And how would he not be unique? How would it be if he were not unique? By being composed in himself. بأن يكون مركبا في ذاته, composed like we are. We are made of atoms. Uh, so those atoms fuse together and form the volume that is ourselves taking up space. So what that means is a body that's made of atoms is not absolutely one thing because it's made of parts. A body is made of parts. Its most fundamental parts are the very atoms that fuse together to make up himself. So the uniqueness of God here, so you can see obviously Wahid is being translated as unique here. Usually we translate Wahid as one. By being composed in himself. So had he been made of atoms, then he would not be one, and he would not be unique. أو يكون له مماثل في ذاته, or having a likeness for his self. أو صفاته, or his attributes, then he would not be one. He would not be unique. If there were a self like the self of God, yani, if there were someone like God. I once had a debate with a Hindu. Those guys are so easy, very ignorant. He was so ignorant that he said, why can't God be imperfect? And why saying that? Because what he's doing is he is embracing the flaw of his conviction. He is embracing the flaw of his conviction. That's like a Christian saying, why can't three be one? Now he is embracing the flaw of his conviction. The imperfection is not befitting. God is the perfect one. أو يكون معه في الوجود مؤثر في فعل من الأفعال, or there being an effector with him in existence in any action whatsoever. يعني مؤثر meaning خالق, or by there being an effector meaning a creator with him. In any doing whatsoever, then he would not be one. If there were an effector with him in existence, a creator with him in existence, then he would be inherently imperfect, insufficient. Let's see if we can get down to this next heading, inshallah ta'ala. وكذا يستحيل عليه العجز عن ممكن ما, and likewise, impossible for him. Exalted is he is being disabled from doing anything possible whatsoever. Doing meaning creating, is being disabled from anything possible whatsoever. Yani Allah can create anything possible, anything. The possibilities are limitless. So weakness, inability is an imperfection. وإيجاد شيء من العالم مع كراهته لوجوده, or the created existence of anything in the world without his acceptance of its existence, meaning without his عدم إرادته له تعالى, meaning his not willing it. Exalted is he, yes. That's an important clarification, meaning the author here chose to express himself in a certain way. He chose to say وَإِيجَادُ شَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْعَالَمِ مَعَ كَرَاهَتِهِ لِوُجُودِهِ. Amongst what is impossible is the creation of something in the world without his acceptance of its existence. Without his acceptance. مَعَ كَرَاهَتِهِ. Well, we have learned that the rida Allah ta'ala, the acceptance of Allah, is other than his creating. It's other than his will. His acceptance, ridahu, is other than his will. And we say Allah wills for what he does not accept. Who is the one who willed for the existence of devils? And willed for the existence of evil and sins and injustice and unfairness. Allah is the one who willed for all of that. So, is it enough to say what he said here? The creation of something in the world مَعَ كَرَاهَتِهِ لِوُجُودِهِ, with his not accepting its existence. That's going to spark a discussion here. And it's going to open up the author to criticism. But he clarified his words. أي عدم إرادته له تعالى, meaning his not willing it. Now he escaped criticism. Again, the criticism being that, let me say it this way, رضا الله صفة وإرادة الله صفة. The people of the prophetic way say God's acceptance is an attribute of his and his will is an attribute of his. So the way that the author expressed himself here, he could have opened himself up to criticism, but he closed the door on that by clarifying what he meant. أو مع الظهور أو الغفلة أو بالتعليل أو بالطبع. Exalted is he, or that something would be created by God forgetfully. That's impossible. Or heedlessly, and haphazardly. That's impossible. Or that something would be created by a cause. That's why you need to learn your religion well. The theologians of the people of the prophetic way, they did not say that Allah is a cause. So therefore, they don't say what would be translated into English as Allah caused this, Allah caused that. But some people, maybe a lot of people, they would say Allah caused this or caused that. And in their minds, cause means creates. And likewise, they would say about a creation, this creation creates this, and this creation creates that. And what they mean is cause. So they see cause and creation as synonymous, as if. But that's not the way of the theologians, of the people of the prophetic way. Rather, creating is the attribute of Allah exclusively, no one else's. And causing is the attribute of a creation. A cause is a creation that leads to a creation. A creation that leads to a creation. Now, after hearing that, some people will just keep doing it anyway. They will hear someone say, the scholars said Allah is not an illah. He's not a cause. And the scholars said the creations la takhluq. They don't create. And then that one, he'll hear it and say, okay. And then he turn around and say, so well, Allah caused this and this creation created that. The science of the creed is the one that is most in need of accurate statements. So if something were to be created by cause or created by nature, then he would be attributed with weakness. وكذا يستحيل عليه تعالى الجهل وما في معناه بمعلوم ما. And also impossible for him, exalted as he is, ignorance or anything of the sort about anything known. That's clear. والموت والصمم والعمى والبكم, as well as death, deafness, blindness, and muteness. وأضداد الصفات المعنوية واضحة من هذه. And the opposites of the ma'nawiyah attributes are clear from these. Wallahu a'lam. Allah knows best. Do you have a question I can answer for you? سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.